My perspective. The pain is off the charts. I thought before it was bad, but this is bad. I'm definitely at that 10 I'd reserved for broken femurs. The pethidine doesn't even bring relief for a long time. I notice a nurse comes up to me a few times and puts a tape measure around my abdomen. I'm not sure why she's doing this, but if I'm awake, I'm throwing up and I'm in pain, which is why I'm trying to welcome sleep. I don't even know what time it is, but when it's visiting time, my mom walks in and sees me. She immediately runs off to the bathroom, but I'm not sure why. My grandparents come in and my gran becomes hysterical. My mom quickly comes back and asks my grandfather to take her out. My dad looks shocked and is just standing there. He also steps out. My aunt walks in, shocked, saying, "She looks terrible. She really is sick." She doesn't stay long either. My mom stands next to my bed and asking how I'm feeling. I'm so sore, so I tell her. I also tell her what I've been thinking. If I had to die now, I would be okay with it. Relieved, actually, because I know the pain would stop and I know I'd be going to be with Jesus. But I feel like God would be disappointed with me. I don't think I've done enough with Jesus for him to say, "Well done, good and faithful servant." I completely understand getting to heaven isn't based on deeds, it's based on your relationship with Jesus. But I really want God to be proud of me, proud of what I did with the gifts he's given me. There's so much running through my head, this being the loudest. And I honestly don't know why I told her. In hindsight, I knew I was dying. I didn't believe it, but I knew it. My mom just stands there for a bit and then leaves. My parents' perspective. My mom walks in and sees me lying there. My eyes are sunken in and the color of my skin isn't good. She gets close and she notices my abdomen. It's swollen. Not a little bit, but it looks like I'm 8 months pregnant. I have a temperature of 40 degrees Celsius. My heart rate goes from 40, jumping up to 150, 160, and then drops again to 40. My blood pressure is low, 80/40, then jumps up to 165/95, even though I'm sleeping and lying down. Sometimes the BP cuff wouldn't even register at points. It would just be 0. The catheter bag is red. Not a bit of brown with a little blood mixed into it. It's red. And there's a strange smell of feces around me. My mom runs out to the bathroom to throw up. She knows what this means. She doesn't get to have the bliss of ignorance that the others have. My mom approaches the nurse and asks her if she's told Dr. S about my swollen abdomen. The nurse is worried. Yes, she has. She's been measuring my abdomen every hour and keeping him updated. Well, what did he say? Nothing, ma'am. He just said to keep measuring and we'll see. My mom comes back to the bed as my grandparents walk in and see their granddaughter dying and tells them to leave because of how my gran is reacting. And then I tell my mom the whole speech about how I would be relieved and dying. I don't know how bad it is. I have the bliss of ignorance and I just have to deal with the pain. My mom stays with me for a bit then goes out. Now, I'm going to keep this next part very vague about who said what, just because I don't want to poke the sleeping bear. Person 1 walks in and sees me and is horrified at my condition. He sees my mom outside and my mom asks him, "What would you do if this was your child?" He says he'd move her to the city. My parents call person 2 and ask for advice and he says the same thing. Person 2 also warns what Dr. S will say to get my parents to keep me there. But my parents must be adamant in moving me because I will not survive here. It's hard for my parents because they want to do what's best, but they're watching their daughter die. My mom is thinking how long before the colon ruptures because of how bad the swelling is, which is horrifying her. As this conversation is going down, Dr. S walks in around the corner and sees person 1 talking to my parents. Person 1 quickly leaves. Okay, game time. My dad says they want me transferred to the city. See, because I'm a private patient paying medical aid, we have that right to request a new doctor and a transfer. Dr. S says, no. They shouldn't move me. The city doesn't have anything special unless they have magic. But you see, the thing is, the city has specialists. Hospital 1 doesn't. My parents are ready for those questions because they were warned. Dr. S says, if you move her, you are going to kill her. My parents stick to it, wanting me to be moved to a gastroenterologist. My dad says, thank you for everything you've tried so far, but they must move me. Yes, they are starting to doubt their decision, but they were warned about these statements. Can we please just pause here for a moment so I can try to understand this? Dr. S was being informed about how bad I was getting and he was doing nothing to even try and help me. Then he has the audacity to tell my parents that they are going to kill me by getting me moved. How do you as a doctor do that to a family? Like, why not just admit that, I'm in over my head and a specialist should get involved? I'm just like, I don't understand. But anyway, unpause. Dr. S's buddy joins in the interrogation, and it comes out that I am not the first patient with these symptoms. There were 2 others before me. So my parents ask, well, what happened to those 2? Dr. S is like, the outcome wasn't good. So wait, they're expecting me to be lucky number 3 with no changes in how they are treating. What do they expect that would happen? It's so messed up because some doctors do this, and Hospital 1 not only does this, but encourages this, unofficially, of course. They keep patients in for longer than necessary to get the medical aids to pay out. Then, once it's depleted, they get rid of the person, sending them to public hospital, where they have complicated so badly that they don't get to leave alive. Dr. S still fought moving me until he saw how bad I was. Then he was like, yes, move her. But this wasn't from the goodness of his own heart. If I die, and I am dying, there will be an investigation as to why a 26-year-old that was healthy with no dread disease has complicated so badly that now she's dead. He would be the one on the chopping block. Well, his insurance will be. So Dr. S agrees and the process starts. See, you can't just move a patient. You need a doctor to write a referral and then send it to another doctor. They choose the doctor because usually it's to send the patient to somebody they need and can help. Like you break your arm and this bone doctor can't help you. He'll send you to another bone doctor that can help you and hopefully write up what they've tried. Dr. S refers me to Dr. D and the paperwork starts. At this point, I'm on 5 different antiemetics for nausea and 5 different antibiotics and then painkillers added on top of that too. I'm on 100 milligrams pethidine every 4 hours with some other stuff, nothing having any effect. Staff start making phone calls trying to find a bed for me, but there are no beds available in any of the hospitals that accept my medical aid. Hospital 3 is an excellent hospital that my medical aid fully covers, but they only have a bed available on Monday. At this point, nursing staff and the matron were also joined in the hunt to try and find a bed. My parents were praying, saying, God, you know the beginning from the end. If she's not going to make it here, then please make a bed available now. They also asked that God would send the right doctor. My mom heard the sister and doctor speak on the phone to Hospital 2. The nurse gave them my medical aid details to the bed booking department, and she shows my mom a thumbs up. My parents rush home to get some clothes. It's 4:15 p.m. and the sister phones saying the ambulance will be there at 6 and gives the name of the 2 doctors that will be looking after me at Hospital 2. While driving, it hits my mom. Sometimes the doctors that have the egos hurt will refer you to a terrible doctor, and because you don't know the medical community, you have to just blindly trust them. But seriously, you should be able to just trust your doctor. They took an oath. So again, they pray, specifically that God would send the right doctor on our path. My perspective. A nurse comes up to me with a pipe and a gadget. She tells me to lie back. I'm like, wait, why? She needs to put a nasal gastric tube in. Okay, but why? Because I'm going to be transferred, and in order to transport me, I need the tube. It'll collect all the vomits, so I'm not vomiting. I'm kind of like, do I even have a choice? And I do as I'm told. My experience of the NG tube. The tube gets shoved up my nose and then just keeps going. Feels like my nose is being broken, and I grab the bed railings just to stop myself from defending against the attacker. Nurse. I feel the tube go further in and further down the back of my throat, sinking in deeper and deeper into my chest. My nose is on fire, but that's normal for a tube being shoved up there. If you've ever been punched in the face and your nose stings and your eyes water, it's like that, but just way worse. Once the attacker, the nurse, once she was done, she attaches a small round container to the tube hanging out of my nose and then releases me. Every time I swallow, I can feel the tube moving in my chest, swaying back and forth. Talking is super painful, and you still feel like you want to throw up. My stomach even heaves and then tenses. The only difference is, instead of it coming out of my mouth, it rushes out of a tube, out of my nose, and fills this round plastic container thing on my lap. So much of the fun times. Shame, man, the nurse did apologize. Apology not accepted. I sat in my bed, heaving, wiping my eyes with one hand, holding the tube at the base of my nose with the other. I could just pull it out. I'm holding it. Just pull it. My grip tightens around the tube. I could just pull it out and not have a freaking tube in my nose and down the back of my throat. Logic kicks in. If I pull it out, they're gonna have to put it back in again and probably attack my other nostril. And they might even strap my hands down. And I'm already basically strapped down to the bed with all these machines. Last thing I need is my hands to be strapped to. But I could just pull it out. It would be so easy to just pull it out. For the next 24 hours, I have to talk myself out of not pulling the tube out of my nose. The ambulance arrives at 6 p.m. Paramedics walk in. I'm just sitting there in my bed watching everything. They do a handover and bring up a gurney. Unfortunately, the paramedics didn't appear well trained. Look, I may be wrong, but just from my experience, I have kind of made a note to never call that specific ambulance again. The paramedics look at the gurney, and then me, and then gurney, and then me. I have to get on the gurney. Okay, cool. So I start moving, and then they just grab me by my hands and feet and then drag me over. Just drag me onto the gurney, pulling the cables and tubes and all the things. Finally, even though a little bit confused as to what just happened, I'm on the gurney and I'm strapped in and I start getting wheeled out. As we get outside, I have never been so happy to feel the heat and humidity in my life. That moment was sweet relief. And I even put out my one badly bruised arm just to feel that fresh air. One paramedic comments, "Haven't you been outside in a while?" Which I say, not since Christmas. That fresh air, it was only a few minutes, but it felt so good. And I still remember what that air felt like around me, almost like liquid around my skin. And I was just able to take a deep breath, or at least felt like I could. I even forgot about the tube in my nose for a moment. We leave at about 7 p.m. Normally, a trip to the city takes about an hour, but the ambulance was driving so slowly that we only arrived there at 10:30 that night. That felt like the longest drive in my life. I never wanted the sirens on so badly and for us to drive Fast and Furious style to get to the next stop. I kept involuntarily heaving, which hurts my stomach more and makes a green bile come out of my nose tube into that container. It makes a very weird sound. I don't know if I can replicate this, and honestly, I am not going to try to. I do not need that noise fresh in my head as well. The painkillers are starting to wear off, so the pain goes from a 7 to a 10. The tube in my throat hurts so bad that I just need something to help it, so I try asking for some water. Shame, the guys had a 2-liter Coke bottle with water inside that I think was theirs, and then they gave me some. They looked really concerned. Whether it was for me or the fact that I drank some of their water, possibly contaminating their drink, because what the heck is wrong with this girl? But when I think of their faces, I do feel bad, and I wonder where they are now and if they're doing okay. Back to the drive. We drove slow, and then we got lost. I can hear them trying to give directions and making phone calls. The GPS isn't working like it should be, and my parents are following in the car. I get glimpses of their car now and then, and even a couple of times see their faces. So clearly they can see me too. Wait, why aren't these windows tinted? So many questions about this ambulance service. I'm brought inside to the hospital, and before the paramedics can drag me over to the bed again, I start to move and manage to slide myself over and crawl into my bed, lying there trying to catch my breath to deal with the pain. Paramedics leave quite quickly, and the nurses start getting me settled in because they were expecting me. The pain is building more and more and more. I'm literally moaning because I don't know what to do with myself. The nurses disappear with my parents, leaving me in the middle of an area enclosed by curtains, which compared to the ICU I just came from felt so spacious. Like I can't reach out and touch the patient next to me. You think I'm kidding? I'm serious. Hospital 1 ICU patients were very close to each other that I could touch the person next to me. And I didn't even have to stretch. So now I lie there in hospital 2. The area is dark and it's quiet. Heart monitors go off in the distance and next to me. I'm alone and I don't know what's going on. And all the pain meds have worn off fully now. What is happening?